When people discuss Muhammad Ali, born Cassius Clay, they often just focus on the positives. And there were a lot of them. Muhammad Ali was a hero for the ages. But the famous boxer wasn't perfect by a long shot. This is about Ali's shortcomings and regrets. Here's the tragic, real-life story of Muhammad Ali. In his heyday, Ali was an author of trash talk. Yet he could scarcely read growing up. Ali had undiagnosed dyslexia, which blighted his childhood. Citing writer Jonathan Eig, NPR noted that one of Ali's classmates considered him, quote, as dumb as a box of rocks. Ali avoided failure by cheating his way through school. Even so, he nearly flunked out of high school and finished 376th out of 391, according to CBS.
I barely got out of school. I got out of school mainly because I was a champion. I actually didn't pass.
In adulthood, Ali made light of his struggles, quipping, "I never said I was the smartest. I said I was the greatest." Jokes aside, Ali's fourth wife, Lonnie, told CBS, "If you can't read, you feel left out of everything." That's why she and Ali started Go the Distance, a reading program for black children. Ali was raised a Baptist, but aspects of Christianity bothered him. As the Courier-Journal reported, Ali didn't feel he could relate to biblical figures because they were always assumed to be white. In 1962, Ali, then still known as Cassius Clay, attended a Savior's Day rally in Chicago. Put on by the Nation of Islam, the event kicked off with a speech by Malcolm X. According to historian Johnny Smith, the speech utterly wowed Ali. Meanwhile, Ali impressed Malcolm X with his magnetic personality. Malcolm X became a mentor to Ali and converted him to the Nation of Islam. It was a controversial move, reportedly criticized by civil rights icons like Jackie Robinson and Martin Luther King. Ali grew close with Malcolm X, who himself was a deeply divisive figure in America. When Ali hung out with Malcolm X while he was training to fight heavyweight champion Sonny Liston, the fight was almost canceled by an incensed promoter. In 1964, Ali's father told the press his son had been brainwashed and called the Nation of Islam corrupt. Ali's associations with the Nation and Malcolm X also made the FBI nervous, and as the New York Times reported, the Bureau thoroughly investigated him through the years. As time went by, the friendship between Ali and Malcolm X started to crumble. In 1964, Ali publicly declared himself a black Muslim, but Malcolm X began denouncing the faith. As The Independent explained, the civil rights leader rejected the Nation of Islam's anti-white philosophy. X derided Nation leader Elijah Muhammad as a hypocrite and womanizer who knew practically nothing about traditional Islam. He invited Ali to follow him on a new spiritual journey, but the boxer wasn't ready to question Elijah's teaching. Ali coldly rebuffed Malcolm X, an act that ended their friendship. Ali eventually left the Nation to become a Sunni Muslim. By that point, Malcolm X had been assassinated, preventing Ali from making amends. He later said, "Turning my back on Malcolm was one of the mistakes I regret most in my life." For years, much of the American public detested Ali for his outspokenness and religious beliefs. Despite being the undefeated heavyweight champion, he spent 1966 boxing abroad because U.S. promoters didn't see him as bankable per the CBC. Once he refused to fight in Vietnam, he wasn't allowed to fight anywhere. As The Atlantic detailed, America declared Ali eligible for the draft in 1966. The champ blasted the idea, announcing, "My conscience won't let me go shoot my brother or some darker people or some poor, hungry people in the mud for big, powerful America. Just take me to jail." Uncle Sam obliged. In 1967, Ali resisted his military induction in person, resulting in a criminal conviction, $10,000 fine, and 5-year prison sentence. Plus, he was stripped of his championship and banned from boxing.
So what in the hell is a heavyweight title and a few stinky dollar bills for my people's freedom?
Ali successfully appealed his conviction, which kept him out of prison, but he was also barred from boxing for 3 years. Trainer Angelo Dundee lamented that the ordeal robbed Ali of the best years of his life and perhaps a level of greatness we can only imagine. Of course, despite his objections to participating in the violence of warfare, Ali's personal life was filled with violent words and deeds that have only added shades of gray to his legacy and reputation. In 1975, Muhammad Ali shared what he called words of wisdom with Playboy. "When we are right, no one remembers, but when we are wrong, no one forgets." In that same interview, Ali said some very, very wrong things. He advocated hanging people based on who they date. Ali followed the teachings of the Nation of Islam and vehemently opposed interracial dating. When asked to clarify, Ali replied, "A black man should be killed if he's messing with a white woman." He further argued that if a Muslim woman dates a non-Muslim man, black or white, then she dies. Kill her too. To bolster his case, Ali noted that historically whites lynched black men, quote, "for even looking at a white woman." According to the Telegraph, for years, Ali felt superior to black athletes who didn't hold his views.
Once they can get them a white girl, a blonde, a brunette, or $100,000 home, or a show on Broadway, usually every Negro watching that show now will tell you that you can't talk to them.
In 1964, Herbert Muhammad, the son of Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad, introduced Ali to waitress and model Sanji Roy. As detailed in the book Muhammad Ali, I Am the Greatest, Roy said Ali asked her to marry him on their very first date. Herbert thought this was a terrible idea. Muslim women were expected to dress conservatively and refrain from wearing makeup. Yet Ali married her about a month after they met. About 10 months after they married, Ali filed for an annulment. In his words, Roy wouldn't do what she was supposed to do. She wore lipstick. She went into bars. The Guardian reported that in court, Ali complained that men could see her underwear through her tight pants. He also derided Roy's choice to wear a knee-length red dress and makeup. Ali grew so frustrated with his wife's disobedience that he slapped her. He later expressed remorse, saying, "The slap hurt me more than it hurt her." Despite her husband's controlling behavior, Roy didn't want a divorce. Ali had to pick between love and religion. He chose the latter. Despite having the world's greatest boxer for a dad, Muhammad Ali Jr., the son of his second wife, Belinda Boyd, didn't have the greatest childhood. Ali Sr. had a hectic schedule, which didn't leave much room for father-son bonding. Jr. was largely reared by his grandparents. Speaking with the New York Post in 2014, he couldn't recall having a single family meal. When Ali Sr. was around, he was great fun, performing magic tricks, wearing scary masks, and generally making his kids smile. When he wasn't around, things were tough. According to Jr., bullies constantly wanted to fight him, and he couldn't distinguish true friends from starry-eyed phonies. He said, "I didn't know who really loved me." Adulthood brought more sorrow for Ali Jr. His father's Parkinson's disease severely limited their ability to interact. He blamed Ali Sr.'s fourth wife, Lonnie, for widening the rift between father and son. Jr. alleged that he could barely take care of his wife and two kids, scraping by with charitable donations. Once his father died, Ali Jr. reportedly inherited $6 million, and according to his wife, he abandoned her after. With the help of statisticians, author Jonathan Eig estimated that Ali took some 200,000 hits during his career. That includes his 61 professional bouts, his numerous amateur bouts, training, and 500 exhibition rounds. About half of those punches likely struck his head. Ali intentionally made himself an in-ring punching bag during the latter years of his career, hoping to tire out opponents. Eig explained that Ali misguidedly thought taking hits would strengthen his cranium. In fact, he encouraged his sparring partners to hit him in the head. Ali's physician believed all those shots to the head led him to develop Parkinson's. Unconvinced, Ali sought a second opinion from an immunologist who diagnosed him with so-called Muhammad Ali syndrome in 1988. The immunologist said that because of years of exposure to household pesticides, Ali needed blood cleanings to rebound. While that particular doctor was later convicted of fraud, scientific research has indeed revealed that heavy pesticide exposure can increase the risk of contracting Parkinson's by 41%. It's entirely possible that pesticides, punches, or both doomed Ali to suffer the ravages of Parkinson's in later life. As Ali's career waned, it was especially painful for his daughters, Miriam and Hannah. In an interview with The Independent, Miriam relived the horror of watching Ken Norton fracture her dad's jaw, saying she believed he'd never talk again. Hannah couldn't bring herself to watch Ali's final fights. It eventually got so bad that his daughters sometimes prayed he would lose so his career could end.
I would retire if I had to get hit in my pretty face all that long, you understand?
In 1971, doctors first observed signs of lasting brain damage in Ali. He had just lost a hellacious fight against Joe Frazier. Even though he was advised to quit, Ali hopped back in the ring in almost no time. During a 27-month period, he fought 13 bouts. Ali's doctors said he did it for quick money. Ali's money disappeared almost as quickly as he made it. Eig wrote that the boxer wasted mountains of cash on his marriages, made countless loans to friends, and supported his father, brother, and others financially. In 1976, he had a wallet-ruining divorce. He then remarried and had another child. To compensate, he fought match after match without sufficient recovery time. Ali first exhibited telltale symptoms of Parkinson's disease in 1981. Once agile and articulate, he slurred his words and made slow, shaky movements. He was formally diagnosed in 1984 at age 42. Medication slowed the advance of the illness, but The Guardian pointed out that Parkinson's creates other complications such as insomnia and depression. Ali would go from being unable to control his movements to being immobile. Ali's mind remained sharp, CBS reported. As his body and speaking ability eroded, He fully understood but couldn't fully express how he felt. Even so, GQ contributor Peter Richmond visited Ali in 1998 and saw not tragedy but triumph. He marveled at how content the ex-athlete seemed as he labored to eat a forkful of cake. He saw divine meaning when Ali pretended to levitate after struggling to even stand. Awed by his experience, Richmond wrote that Ali had never seemed godlier. But what the author saw as contentment might have been a face that couldn't show frustration. Per the Mayo Clinic, Parkinson's impairs a person's ability to make facial expressions. One has to wonder whether Richmond simply witnessed a man clinging to the fading vestiges of his former self. By 2016, after a decades-long bout with Parkinson's, the man whose lightning-fast hands had brought him championships, fame, and money could no longer sign his own name at age 74 per USA Today. Veronica Porsche, the third of Ali's 4 wives and the mother of 2 of his children, remarked that she hadn't talked with her ex-husband for a long time because he couldn't talk. Ali contracted an unnamed respiratory ailment which sent his already weakened anatomy into panic mode. The result was sepsis, a blood-based inflammatory response to illness that wreaks havoc. In an attempt to heal, Ali's body essentially killed itself. He went into septic shock and his organs failed in quick succession. The last organ to die was his heart, which reportedly outlasted the rest of his body by 30 minutes. While the last years of Ali's life were painful and sad, it's still difficult to think of anyone who lived a life as full as him. Yes, it was full of triumph and tragedy in equal measures, but despite it all, it's impossible not to agree with Ali's own assessment of himself. He was the greatest.
Only last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
If you have a Crystalfact event you've covered, please drop a message on our comment section. You can as well get to us on our phone number +234 8032 312975. As the channel is Crystalfact TV, it is for Crystalfact information. Let your voice be heard, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.